You can moderate the meeting. But before I start something campaign, I guess we can do like a results Hi everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Hi to everyone who's watching us live. It's amazing that we're able to connect, even though we're not physically in the same space. We're still able to share our experiences and have a nice conversation with you guys. We are very excited to be here, and I'll hand it over to my colleague Ruben, who's going to go over the agenda for today's meeting. So, Ruben, you want to share a little bit about what's going to happen?
Hi, everyone in Nairobi and everyone join us virtually or in the live stream. My name is Ruben Avila. I am from Mexico, and I am the youth officer in Fòs Feminista. I will be like moderating or trying to or doing some kind of moderation in this session. But actually, we were thinking to make this like more like an informal conversation about the issues that we will share here. So first, we will have my colleague Camila sharing some information about a global CSC campaign that we are launching here in CSW, and that we will be working around the world during the World Year. Then we will have a round of presentations for the speakers here in New York, and obviously for you in Nairobi. And now and then, I will start just like sharing some conversations to open the dialogue and start sharing about what we are talking. The plan is talk about two specific issues. The first one is about the inaccessibility or accessibility of youth advocates to international advocacy spaces, for example, CSW in this case, but we know that CSW is not the only space that we have. So we will share some experience and also perspectives and what we think that we can do to improve the participation and the meaningful engagement of youth in these spaces. And the second point that I have to say personally is the most relevant or the most interesting for me, it's about our experience dealing with anti-rights people and movements in these spaces. I mean, for sure, if we are talking about inaccessibility to international advocacy spaces, maybe we can take the second point in terms of anti-rights just to our work doing advocacy in our countries, in our organizations, and in our specific areas of work. But yeah, that is the plan. So I don't know if you have any comment or question, people in Nairobi.
Everything good? Perfect.
Very good.
Doreen, are you okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, Doreen and I are really close friends, so I'm really happy to meet you.
Nice to have you here. So
Thank you.
sorry.
No, yeah. So we will go to start. Camila,
But
take the floor.
shall we start with a round of introductions just to get to know each other first? We can say our name, our country, and which organization we collaborate with. So I'll kick us off. My name is Camila. I'm from Mexico, from a beautiful city called Mérida in the southeast. And I'm the social media coordinator at Fòs Feminista. I'll hand it over to whoever wants to go next. Do you want to go next?
I want to go next. Thank you,
Perfect.
Camila. Hi, everyone. I'm Julieta. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm from Mexico City, also from Mexico, but another part in Mexico. And I work in a partner organization of FOS, which is Catholics for the Right to Decide Mexico. So it's really interesting to be here joining to bring more perspectives about progressive theologies and feminist Catholic perspectives in the feminist movement to advance human rights.
Perfect.
So I don't know, I hand it over to
Shifra.
Sure. Hi everyone, I am Shifra Belongel. You can call me Shifra. My pronouns are she, they. I'm Global Advocacy Officer at FOS, and I'm based in Manila. And I work a lot with our Asia Pacific partners and support them in their participation in international spaces as well. Over to you, Samaya.
Hi everyone, my name is Samia. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from Lebanon. I live in Beirut, and this is the first time I participate in the CSW, so I'm really excited to be here. I'm the deputy director at an organization called the A Project. We work on sexual and reproductive health and reproductive justice in Lebanon, and we have a sexuality hotline. And so I'm also like really excited to like learn about your experiences like with advocacy in these spaces, because I've had little experience with that. So it's nice to meet you all.
Yay! Thank you so much.
So over to you, friends in Nairobi.
Okay. Nice to meet you. My name is Margaret Wanjiro. My pronouns are she, her. I live in Nairobi, but I'm not from Nairobi. I'm from another part of Kenya. I work for Oxfam International as a digital campaign strategist. So I work with the global teams when we're putting together campaigns to put in the digital lens to it. Nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Jambi. I am a development podcasting strategist, working especially at the moment to bring to light conversations around feminist organizing and what that looks like. How does it work, especially with new media and the kind of spaces we're getting into. I'm also the founder and CEO of Wakilisha Initiative, an organization that promotes access to justice for children in conflict with the law. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sandra Morania. My pronouns are she, her. Live and work in Kenya, Nairobi specifically. I work with and for a women's movement called White Juvenile Alliance, where I head the programs and advocacy work. My work is a lot of, designing the campaigns and supporting the implementation of the same. But I'm a passionate campaigner. My background is campaigning and youth activism. And so I really just bring that out in all the work that I do, even when it's with a non-youth audience and non-youth partners. And so I'm happy to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Doreen Moracha. I am a youth advocate, a HIV and AIDS advocate, content creator. Ruben is laughing because we have met in the HIV and AIDS space. So a content creator. I have a digital initiative called I Am a Beautiful Story, where I just want to normalize the HIV conversation.
Oh, can you hear us?
Or rather leveraging on people. That is what.
Yeah.
Oh, we're having a few.
But you're frozen.
It's okay.
We had a technical issue, but
Okay,
we're
it
good
is
now.
our internet.
Yes.
Oh, no.
No, I'm trying to.
Okay, there you go. We see you now.
Yeah, so that is basically me. But can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you. Yeah. Thank you.
Everyone, this is very new to me, so I don't know if you can see me.
Yes, we can
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. My name is Lucy Wanjiko Zenga. I work at Positive Young Women Voices, which is a community-based organization here in Nairobi. We work with adolescent girls and young women. And our main focus is on preventing and ending violence against women and girls, and supporting women in their diversity. So those who are living with HIV, those who identify as LBQ, those who are survivors of violence. Yes, and literally all the members of our community who are women and girls. So really excited to be here and can't wait to hear the discussions. Thank you. I also live in outskirts of Nairobi, but I'm based in Kenya.
Perfect. Perfect. Nice to meet you. Perfect. Nice to meet you, everyone. Well, let's go. Let's start with the agenda. So now, Camila, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, well, it's amazing to meet you. Thank you for introducing yourselves. And right now, I'm going to share something that I'm very excited about. So we have been working on a campaign with our partners from around the world. We have people in Africa, Latin America, and Asia. And wait, we're going to do the big reveal in a second. So just a bit of background. The campaign, its purpose is to counter out anti-choice groups by saying the truth. So young people and their parents and guardians actually support comprehensive sexuality education. That's the truth. We are strong believers that families play a crucial role in supporting CSE and promoting CSE. And we are here to remind everyone that the support for CSE is real among parents, guardians, and among young people. So what we did is that we reached out to our partners from around the world, as I mentioned, and we asked them a couple of questions on how CSE or the lack of it has impacted their lives. And we have some amazing answers from them and their parents as well. So I'm going to show an example here. Can you hold this, please? So this is from one of our partners in India. This is Vani, and she's saying that comprehensive sexuality education is key for healthy development and healthy relationships, while protecting our children from abuse and discrimination. So this is an example of a mother saying that she supports CSE and she wants that for her children. And it's a good way to have healthy relationships and healthy lives. We have other submissions from Latin America. Here's Kevin saying that families need to support CSE and we need to talk about it. So we are not referring to it as the talk, as a taboo, but actually something that needs to be talked about. And yeah, we're very excited that we have these submissions from partners from around the world. We are going to be promoting this on social media as well because we want to engage more people in this campaign. So I want to encourage you and everyone who's watching us live to just take to social media and share your story, how CSE, comprehensive sexuality education, has had an impact on your lives or how the lack of it also has had an impact. So yeah, feel free to share your story and use the hashtag families for CSE. And yeah, we're very excited for tag Fòs Feminista so we can see your content. And oh, I'm blocking. Oh, Shifa, you're okay. And yeah, very excited to present this campaign to you all and to everyone watching us live. Do you have any questions, comments? Yeah. All good? Perfect. Thank you so much for listening. We're very excited to work on this campaign.
We were speechless from the campaign.
You're speechless. Oh, and one more thing. This is a year-long campaign. And we're using CSW to launch it, but we want to emphasize it throughout the year during key moments. So yeah, this is a year-long effort, and we're starting at CSW. So yeah, we are very excited, and we hope to see your stories online. Thank you all.
Thank you, Camila. I want to say that one of the most important things for us in FOSS in terms of this campaign was the first thing that Camila said, and it's just putting the lights or putting on the table the fact that families support CSE. Because even here in CSW, we have seen that the concept of family is discussed in terms of what means family for people, but actually not only what family means, but also what families support in terms of, I mean, we know in terms of CSE, in terms of sexual and reproductive health and many other issues that we work for. So for us, it's really interesting to listen other people in the world about what is their stories of and their family stories in terms of talking and speaking about CSE. So join us in this campaign in any time, for sure. I think it's really interesting because we know that in Nairobi, there's many people working on cons. So it will be really nice to have you in that campaign and for sure to collaborate with Fòs Feminista in any activity or anything that you think it may fit with the campaign. So let's start with the conversation,
Yay.
with the exchange. And actually, as this is supposed to be an exchange, I think it would be great if we can go like one-on-one. I mean, not like confronting each other. Actually, it's not a debate, it's not a fight, but actually, like, yeah, I mean, everyone participating and discussing. I think it's not like some kind of speaking thing, but more like a conversation between advocates and people working in this advocacy space, and actually like having an open conversation, because I think we have not a lot of space to speak about these situations happening right now and happening in the last years, and that will happen for sure in the next months and years and events. So let's go for it. Let's go for it. The first thing is about the international advocacy spaces. As you know, every single year, almost actually many times around the year, there is like advocacy spaces, from the ones in United Nations to others organized by civil society or other institutions like conference, forums, assemblies, and many others. And I have been in many of them because of my work, and I have been with many people here actually in these kind of spaces. And one of the big issues is, where is the youth people on these specific spaces? In the last decade, we have many conversations about meaningful youth engagement and why it's crucial that youth people be part of these spaces. But at the same time, I feel like there has not been a lot of efforts to actually make that real. You know, with the pandemic, a lot of people start speaking about the opportunities that the digital world provide to all these spaces in terms of participation. But it looks like many people just forgot the fact that, I mean, yes, there is now the virtual opportunity or the online opportunity, but what about people don't having internet access, don't having a good iPhone or a Mac to have like very high quality team, people don't having a Zoom license to actually connect to these spaces. So there's a lot of things and issues even in the digital space. So let's start. What is your experience in terms of accessing to these international spaces? I mean, not only in terms of, for example, the digital access or the in-person access, but also a really interesting conversation is the visa thing. Because we know every single time, in every single space at this moment, I have met someone who told me like, oh, there's one person coming from my organization who was supposed to be here, but they didn't got the visa. And that's a big thing when we actually talk in international conferences. So yeah, what is your experience? What are your thoughts? Let's go with someone in Nairobi.
I have some thoughts I can start off because you've touched on a few issues that I also think about, which is the accessibility of these forums. And I'm one of the people, the camp that says one of the benefits of the pandemic was the digital access. Of course, recognizing that not everyone for sure will access these spaces, but the trend that I've seen is it gives, so now there are more opportunities digitally through this hybrid engagements. Compared to last time, we're having more young people having access to these spaces. It's very easy to throw in the access barrier based on digital technology and electricity and all these things. But I also can tell you realistically speaking, especially in Kenya, and my team here can confirm or discredit, is we do have strong digital penetration. And I've always struggled with seeing the same faces accessing these international conferences or forums year in, year out, especially with the youth tag. And then you've seen them for over 5 years, you start wondering, how are you still representing young people? And I do know in the politics of the digital world, the people are having those conversations and how do we make them more accessible, more inclusive? So I'd rather, if we can't get there, because you've just said it's so, I have so many friends who have been denied visas and they've had powerful speaking engagements in these forums. So that's another whole conversation that we need to have. But now while we're here, how do we then leverage the access that we have? No matter how small, it is definitely bigger and more I feel we have even more power to speak out, because in this forum, there's protocol that sometimes you have to follow. In a digital platform, you will take over that space with all your authenticity. And it's just a matter of how do we mobilize more, smartly, more strategically. If it's about bringing guys and young people from hard to reach areas, it's easier to bring them to Nairobi, for instance, because we know for sure we can provide the infrastructure to connect in these conferences. So without looking at it as it's such a big barrier, oh my gosh, can we just look at the opportunity now and see how we can take over these spaces, whether it is online, whether it is offline. But I do think the trend, especially the last 4 years, I'm accessing spaces, I'm speaking in forums that I would otherwise not have spoken, especially because also the dynamics of delegation. Who is a member of the delegation? You find a lot of non-youth occupy, because it's yeah. So I am here for the digital, and I'm here for how do we take over the new spaces.
Great, thank you.
Just to add to that, when you talk about the accessibility on digital, this is great. It's also where are people actually on digital? Because if it's Zoom, it's great, but someone else in the village would probably doesn't know what we're talking about when you mention Zoom. But that person is possibly on TikTok, or that person is possibly on Facebook. And so I like the fact that this is actually, for this particular session, it's actually being streamed on Facebook, where you find the people. So it's going the extra step of, yes, we are digital, great. But can we actually go where people are digitally? The same way, if you're gonna do offline campaigning, you're gonna go where the people actually are. So if people are, especially because young people are mobilizing and organizing online. So if people are mobilizing on TikTok, what can we do in such a platform? Are you gonna do this as lives? Are you gonna create content that goes beyond the actual events, so that at least, if CSW happened, beyond CSW, this is actually what breaking down those very technical terms, and so that content gets to reach people exactly where they are. So that even now when CSW next year is coming up, then you'll, at least young people are actually also looking forward to it. So that it's not also these other technical things that you see online, like, oh, CSW, what is that? It's those are the UN things. So just go to where people are, understand the language that they're using, understand how they're sharing these stories, the models that they're using, and then organically join in.
And just to pick up further on what they've both said, what are we even talking about when we say access, especially in these digital platforms? Is it that we were able to log on to the call or the session, or youth advocates just part of the audience, or what views were taken from the youth that came in and participated? Is there someone following up, for instance, on the chat box? Is that going to factor into the report of the session itself? So it's great because there's access in terms of numbers, but what access are you giving us as youth advocates for our voices to be heard? So we've been seen, maybe just my name, and especially if it's a webinar, for example, you're not anywhere, you're just on the list of participants. So did I really have access, or did the session actually just have access to me? But did I have access to that session? Did I have access to the power in those rooms? And just a different point I was sharing with Wanjiro earlier, the beauty about these spaces is, yes, we have access to them.
We're having tech issues. Can you hear us? Hi, can you hear us? We're having tech issues. We're going to sort it out in a second. Sorry, I don't understand. So we're figuring out the details for anyone watching live. It will be just a minute.
Let me see if someone is sharing something live. We're in the live.
Oh no.
Yes, we are here.
No. That's cool. All right, there's something simple.
It's one she made. In the words in yourself. We can say hi.
John, we might need you.
Yay!
Yay, you're
We're
back.
back.
Great.
Well, we have a 1 minute
now
break
accessible.
because it was necessary to have a break of this really intense conversation. Everyone,
Because
so
I'm not
go
sure
back to
exactly.
you.
Thanks. I'm not sure exactly where I dropped off, but the point I was making is even as we advocate for digital spaces and digital accessibility, let's not forget the importance of actually being in those physical spaces. Because if you're going to the forum, there's going to be a mixer before it, or there's going to be a cocktail after, there's going to be, there's going to be sessions, you're mingling with the people, you have access to people who have the funds. So if you're looking for feminist organizers, funders, you can't see them in the spaces. Whereas if it's a digital platform, you will be part of the session itself, but what comes after, when it's time for you to lobby and advocate for whatever it is that you want, then you don't have access to that. So there has definitely been great strides in accessing these forums digitally, but we should still push to be able to access physically. Yeah.
And accessing physically, just to emphasize, is not being there. I don't know if anyone, and I'm sorry to mention names, but I don't know if anyone has been to IS, and there's the global village where most young people are. And the chaos there is at IS in the global village. You're trying to have a session. I can hear Doreen on the main stage. I'm trying to have a whole session where I've called dignitaries, and they're there, but we can barely hear each other because the stage, the main stage is so, there's so much noise. So even the participation now becomes one-sided because of also where you are. And then you go to the other side where the donors are, and it's so quiet. There's blues playing in the background. They have places where they have coffee. The floors are white. Do you know already you're feeling some type of way? You're feeling, yes, I am here, but there's my space, and then there's other people's space. Yeah. What is that? What, I don't know. And then for me, this is the moment you mentioned, there's joy of getting into a space, a global space, digitally. But then there's also that aspect you can't get if you never go there physically. If you're only on digital, really you're missing out. Because I remember the first time I was to go to IS, everything was done late, so I ended up not going. And then I was told, oh, you can join online. I never joined. I definitely never joined. I had this tablet that had to be connected to Wi-Fi, and for me to connect to Wi-Fi, I had to go to a cyber. And people just think because in my house I have Wi-Fi, obviously if you're in this space, you have Wi-Fi in your house, you have a smartphone. Yes, I had a tablet, but I still needed Wi-Fi, and I could not access it in my house. So this is the first time I'm going to IS, and I'm going next week. I'm also very not sure of where my space is. I'm so used to the HIV space, but I've not been into this space where it's more gender conversations compared to what I'm used to. HIV, I think if you wake me up at middle of the night, I have something to tell you for sure. But in this other space, there's still that, it's a space for certain people, and am I those certain people? All factors considered, I'm a woman. So I enjoy that we're having this conversation. Leave alone visa. I don't know if you've tried US visa. I will share. Please share. Please share.
So access, right now I can say that us seated in here and you guys in New York, we are privileged. Yeah. This is a privilege. Oh, yeah, for sure. This is a privilege, but it's for few people. That is the problem. In 2020, I was part of the Generation Equality Youth Task Force by UN Women. So UN Women supported everything. All I had to do was show up at the US embassy, tell them, hey, I am here, I am going to New York. Then, as Lucy is saying, I'm from the HIV space. This is a gender space. So the lady asked me, please tell me the correlation between what you do and what you're going to do at the conference. And then I did not have an answer for that question. And I really tried, but I didn't. Like I told her what I do at the task force, but to her it didn't make sense because she's not an advocate. She's a visa officer. Her work is to issue or decline your visa. So I walked out of that. They did not even deny me the visa. That was the most frustrating part because I was given the pending form to add more information to the information I had already given. So fast forward, they deny me a visa like 6 months in. So they still say now we can't because COVID came and all that. And then now 2023, I was supposed to be in New York. I was given support, I was told go. But when I remembered my experience, because I literally cried in town in 2020. When I remembered that, I was like, no, I am not showing up on that embassy. I am not going. So the ladies who were supporting me were like, no, just talk to your foreign affairs ministry. The thing is, the ministers are not accessible. They are not accessible. So how? I tried coming, because I have everything, yes. But how do I show up there again for them to heartbreak me again? The same issue with visas is Canada last year during the AIDS 2022 conference. So many stalls were there, they were empty because the people did not show up. That means there is a voice that was supposed to be in that conference that did not come. So that means the person was left at home. Yes, they say, oh, join virtually. But do you know the stress of I have a whole workshop I need to present, and then I was expecting people. But now I'm here. I don't know whether these people are listening to me. I don't know whether they have even joined. I don't know whether they're doing it out of courtesy that, yeah, you are not here. So let's just come in. Like, it always gives me that frustration because also getting that Canadian visa was a very uphill task. And some people did not even get the visa at the end of it all. So and even on the physical space, you'll be there, but you'll see so many inequalities. I am sorry to bring the inequalities in, but you'll see the inequalities. You'll see the exhibition has all these beautiful things. There are tablets, there are ring lights, there's music, there is snacks and whatnot. And then you'll go to, this is here when you were on the freeze. Okay. And then you'll go to like the community village. It's organized chaos in there. And then you go to the sessions, you find like you have a session, 100 people had signed in, only 5 people are there physically. And now you have to look for more people who are not there because some of the people have just gone there for the vibes. So there's so much inequalities going on. Like, I'll go to this session because I know it's UNAIDS. Like whether they invited me or not, I'm going. But this other one, I don't know this person. They're a small organization. I won't show up. So, you know, like those inequalities, they still exist, both even in the virtual space and in the physical space. That is a thing, because in the virtual still, you'll send out a webinar, invite people, and then you see you have 30 people. But on the coming interested, there were 200. Yeah. But only 30 have shown up. So I don't know how we can create that balance where we get the meaningful engagement, because we are missing that as an aspect. Even when you're giving access, we still don't get that meaningful engagement aspect.
I think there's the element for you, there's the element of meaningfully giving up space.
Yeah.
So there's a step of resourcing so that young people can actually go there. Then capacity building, so that when young people are taken to like these big events like CSW or COP, if you're gonna be put head to head with like negotiators as a young person, you don't freeze.
Yeah.
So there's capacity building on. This is how you navigate these conversations. And then now, if you're gonna be there as a young person and the UN is there, then it's on to the big bodies to actually give up space for the young people to then take up those spaces. Because then you're there, you put at the youth corner over there. Something because the UN is doing something. So unless they give up space, you always end up at the corner.
Thank you. Yeah, fully agree with many of the points mentioned. And I think when we talk, the summary is when we talk about accessibility, it's not only like attending to a space, but actually about the things around attending, the things around participating, the things around who participates, who not participate, if they participate in person or online, how much participation means actually engagement, and many others. So people here in New York, what is your experience in that situation? What about accessibility in your personal experience, but also what is your thoughts about this? What are your thoughts?
I can go. I want to pick up on some of the things that Dave said, like, yeah, let's make the most of the digital space that we have, because that's important for sure. People who can't come, and I have my own stories of working with partners who, there would have been support for them to come, but the visa waiting time is just months or even years in their countries. And this is in specifically in South Asia. We have had folks there who just have had to decline even with support. There's also I think the visa problem is a very big problem for sure, and virtual space is a way to engage. But we also have to see that in terms of like the CSW and intergovernmental meetings like this, where not a lot of people have access to member states. In previous CSWs, I've engaged virtually. I know feminists who have said, this is so much harder because we can't even be outside the rooms waiting for them to come out, the government representatives or the delegations to go to them and talk to them and tell them about our issues, because we're not in the same space. And it's so much harder because they won't let us in the Zoom room, and it's that much easier for them. And it's that much easier for them to remove access for us. At least here, and this is why I also like what one of you mentioned about how, sure, we want the digital space, but we also have to push for coming to these meetings in person, because we have to reach, our government representatives. Sometimes there's no other way. And like for civil society, it's always fighting for those spots in the delegation, right? And it's so rare that feminist and progressive organizations are even given, like that seat on the table. So that's it for me.
Anyone here wants to share something? I mean, you can share your experience, but also you can share like, what do you think as you already mentioned it, I think the question is there, and the situation is there, how we can start actually like having the road for this. Because for sure, another thing is we cannot just expect that these non-youth led organizations, people, institutions, and other make the thing, because they will not do it. Because sometimes it's even better for them to not have the youth people there, because they know that we will be the people disturbing the space in terms of, okay, let's have the hard conversations, let's bring the difficult or the non political or traditional thing. So yeah, how do you think we can actually start building that thing?
I thank you, everyone, for what you said. It's just so powerful to hear how we experience in our own lives these dynamics of power, because I think a lot comes to dynamics of power and how we can reshape power and reshape our participation in these spaces. And I resonate a lot with what you said about what are these spaces created for what kind of people. Even though we are women probably, or people assigned female at birth, there's a lot going on there about or around whiteness, and it makes it harder if you come to a space where there's, yes, young people, but young people that was born in environments where they have access to diplomacy, engagement or certain kind of knowledge to engage politically or economically, or they have some resources. So they had access to career paths that allowed them to engage better and to know people and have like these capitals around them to be more, I don't know, to raise their voices more louder or in a more powerful way. And that creates a dynamic that, for example, in my personal experience has a lot to do with the confidence I feel in this space to engage, even if it's virtual or online or if it's physically. But I feel many times very avoided to really engage or come to the conversation since I don't have enough experience or enough knowledge about it, or I don't feel like I fit in the space. And that I think is also an important thing like to bring when we think about how to reshape the power and how can we bring our diverse identities to the spaces, from how we look, what we think, our experiences, like all these things that are very connected and rooted in the things we are advocating for and the places where we are standing from, because that is so relevant when it comes to advocating for our causes. Even though our causes are like in a common basis, we are engaging and advocating from different places. So I guess bringing people that look different, that think different, and inviting like, yeah, different partners and different friends or mates or people we know, colleagues, to these spaces to disrupt the, like the, I don't know, like the continuous of seeing the same people all the time in the same spaces. Like just bringing more new, vibrant, powerful voices that are different and think different and look different. I think that also can be a really important thing to reshape power in these advocacy spaces in any level.
That is so true. Yeah.
So anyone more here? Samia, Camila, you want to share something about?
I wanted to add to what Julieta was saying, about how challenging it is to come into these spaces, thinking that like, what else am I adding to the conversation, or how is what I'm gonna share gonna be taken or received by the people? Because what am I expected to talk about? And if I speak from my experience or like with like the local like NGO that I work in, I know I'm gonna be speaking from what I know and like the work that I do, but I always fear that it's going to be taken and generalized because so few of us are in such spaces, that like your experience with one thing can be taken as like just a broad brush that's painted over like the experiences of others, as opposed to like, why don't we get more people in the room and hear from more of us, whether it's youth or like different nationalities and different causes that we work on, and to try to understand things in a more nuanced way. It feels to me sometimes that we just wanna like tick things off a list of like, okay, who's in the room? Oh, we have someone from Lebanon. Oh, we have da-da-da, but like not actually listening to like people's experiences properly. And I think on just because I know for myself, like this is my first time, and it's been a bit overwhelming. And I think maybe some ways that we can use digital spaces is to connect with each other before we come to these spaces, to have these conversations before we get here, so that when I did get here, I was like, oh wow, I'm alone, which is not true, but it definitely felt really alone on the yesterday, the first day. But I think that helps a lot to feel like you are part of something bigger, that you do know, like you walk into a room and you do recognize faces in it, and not in the negative way. Like I do recognize faces that I've met and spoken to, and it's really great because now I'm more comfortable saying something that maybe it's not going to be taken so well, but I know Julieta in the room, so I'm good. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Samia. Yeah, I mean, just to close this point, or kind of close this point, because I think we opened the Pandora box and we have many, many to talk about this. Two specific things that we didn't mention in this conversation, and I think it's very, very important. It's first, language, and not only in terms of technical language, but actually it's unfair that the only people who have access to these spaces most of the time is because we can speak English, and not because we could actually speak in our own language, which is so unfair because so many times we actually, we lost the experience and the knowledge of other people who do not speak English. And that's very, very, very difficult because, we lost a lot of things for that. And the other thing, it's also accessibility in terms of people with disabilities. I don't know if someone here has a disability, but that is another thing that we still not really, really, really into. There is, I always feel like, it sounds funny for me sometimes when I say that accessibility in the guidelines, and there's always like people in chairs or something, or sign language. And it's like, hey, there's a lot of disabilities up here. And you're just taking like the basic things that everyone knows from the last 5 decades, which is good because there's still people who have those disabilities, but there's more about it. And it's not like, I learned this from a disabilities, people with disabilities activists. It's like, it's not about we have to adapt to your space, but actually your space to be our space also. So yeah, let's move to the other point, because actually we don't have a lot of time, but think twice in terms of time. And it's about, it looks like there is not a lot of accessibility for youth, but there is actually a lot of accessibility for anti-right people because they are coming for us. It looks like they are coming for us, and there is more and more and more, and not only like attending to these spaces, to these international advocacy spaces, but also like taking power in those spaces. They are coming in governments, they are coming in the private sector, they are coming in civil society. They are coming just because they have the resources and they are really organized. And it looks like sometimes they don't even have the visa thing or the language thing. I don't know why, but it happened also. So yeah, what is your experience and your thoughts about the role of anti-rights movement in all these international advocacy spaces? We have to be a little bit like small or short, but
Short intervention.
yeah, short intervention. Sorry.
I can kick us off very quickly.
Sorry, go for it.
So yeah, as a social media person, a comms person, we see a lot of the media comments from anti-rights groups, and they have these false information that they want to spread on social media. So sharing my experience, we don't want to engage on that conversation because it's not going to lead to anywhere. But we want to keep sharing valuable information. We have the facts. We have the legit information. We want to show that we have presence on social media, that our message is strong, and it's not only about what they are saying, because they, like I said, they use false information based on personal biases or something like that. But yeah, we want to show that we're here to share our message and our message is strong. So that's my experience on the social media front. Whoever wants to. Yeah.
Someone in Nairobi wants to add something?
Yeah, I actually wanted to add to what you've said. There's the element of now actively working on sensitizing people on digital rights, and actually, so for campaigning work, to now start talking about digital safety, digital misinformation. I feel like that's a whole thing that now actively needs to be put also in the big agendas for such meetings, so that at least there is also resourcing for such things. So that, because when you say like digital misinformation, we have the privilege of understanding it, but people who are not in such a space do not. So there's the element of just moving it a step further into making into the big agendas for such kind of meetings, and then it making to the resourcing bit. That's just an addition to what you said.
The thing for me with anti-rights group is just the audacity of it all. It's like they'll just come in and say something so absurd, and it's like, okay, you're actually we are saying this, so we are doing this, okay, but it's because they have they have the power, they have the resources and the backing. Whereas, as we've been talking about here, even with accessibility, because you're coming in, you're young, you're a woman, you're all these other intersectional aspects that are making you smaller and smaller in the group. You're more conscious of what happens with my words, what happens. You could do one thing and lose the little resourcing that you already do not have. But most anti-rights groups are backed by such big forces of power that it almost doesn't matter what they do or say in these spaces, because either it won't affect them or they have the leeway to do whatever, or even when they make those mistakes, there'll be in fact more resources poured into covering up the messes, whereas we don't have I guess the privilege to do that. You're working with very limited resources and working against almost just this very huge giant that is hell-bent on making sure you don't succeed. That's the worst bit about it.
To me, I'd love to say something. I was in a forum one time where they were discussing why Kenya is fighting the approval of CSE in schools. And somebody said in that forum that it's because the enemy is well organized and well funded and has a lot of power. With all of those things in check, they will come to us no matter how much we try to fight. Because to us, we already fighting to remain in the space, to be grounded and to actually put our points in advocacy across. We're already fighting for the rights to be already to work for us. So they are coming with so much power, like they're backed up with forget even about the money. The fact that a church can back you up, the government can back you up, you already have what you need. And that is what worries me every day, especially from the Kenyan context. It worries me a lot because the power that goes to the anti-rights community is a lot and it's dangerous. Yeah.
The anti-rights movement, first of all, I feel like it is one, even the way we're talking about it, it is a they. Who are they? You know? And it's they, and I've had the same narrative. Oh, they're so powerful, they're so well resourced. And just looking at her example right now, in Kenya, for sure, we have, the opposition is government, the opposition is the church.
No.
When you unpack it further, even the word rights, and I know that's something I've struggled with when we're engaging with government. So for instance, adolescent sexual reproductive health policy, health and rights policy, remove the rights and then we're good. When you unpack that, it feels like just the way it is, the perception of what rights is it's like a monster. It's something that is not, it's not an African agenda. It's not our agenda, which is so funny because then when you look at our constitution alone, it's a rights-based constitution. And so when you hear it's government that's funding an anti-rights movement or it's driving an anti-rights movement, then there's a disconnect there. And I feel like they, beyond propaganda and really pushing misinformation, I think they're also leveraging on this idea of the big power is supporting the we have to really illuminate who are these anti-rights groups, right? And I also the connection to rights and freedom, recognizing that the reason that we're having anti-rights is because people do not want freedom. Like it's the powers that may be. The 1% that I think, honestly, the power that we're calling government and the power that we're calling whoever we're calling are so few, but they're giving the perception that they're big and they're powerful and they're winning with this, right? And so I think that's something that we need to just call out as advocates in the space who have seen it and not power it. Don't power that narrative.
So someone here in New York wants to share something about?
If I may.
Yeah, we have only, we're almost done with the time, sadly, but let's go.
One of the things that I learned from someone actually from Kenya, our partner, Jade Mina from Tika, maybe you know her, is that we are so hard pressed to really respond to a lot of these attacks because we're working, the resources we have, we use it to work, to help people. All they have to do is lie. Keep lying,
Yeah.
keep lying.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, and that's why there needs to be funding that goes to actually countering, opposition and anti-rights.
Of course,
And there needs to be more funding for feminist organizations who are at the forefront, of turning these narratives around. And I think it's so they can be creative, they'll use words like family, or whatever to push their agenda, to organize sessions around CSW and all these UN events. But I think we're more creative. I think because we're telling the truth is on our side. And that's also why I really like, for example, what we're doing with this campaign, and we're talking about families too, and we're talking about families and CSE, just bringing that back. And we have to keep keep pushing our narratives out there. But really, it's such an important call, I think, to make sure that funding goes to feminist movements. That's it for me.
Thank you. So, sadly, we are almost at the end. But I will say it was a really great conversation, and I think everyone enjoyed the conversation because we were just starting the points. So I think possibly we can still using these digital tools to actually keep the conversation, and actually that people who is watching the live stream can also join the conversation and share what is their experience and their thoughts in terms of accessibility to international advocacy spaces, but also in this really interesting topic that, we just start about the role of anti-rights movement. So we only have I think 2 minutes. So if someone wants to share, someone wants to close the space, so I don't want to be the one. Okay, yeah. We will close taking a selfie.
Yay!
But it will be a really interesting exercise. I think we will take one here with you, and then you can take one
from your side. Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's try. Who wants to be the person? I'm not the communication person, so who wants to go?
Okay.
I will do the magic for you. But then you take the photo. Oh,
Sorry. Okay. 1, 2, 3, Ruben. Yay!
Let's see who take the best picture actually.
Let's go. Yeah.
So it must be you who said it will be us.
I am the terror. The game is the worst. Guys, communication breakdown.
Okay, let's see.
You have to put a bit higher so that you can see them. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not seeing everyone.
Lucy is not even in this picture. You are. Actually, you are.
Picture.
Sorry, we have to all be.
Have someone taller. How do I come?
There you go.
Oh, okay.
But you're not there again.
Okay,
So
1, 2.
doing the live stream is so much fun.
Yay. There you go.
So thank you everyone in Nairobi. Thank you everyone in the live stream. Thank you everyone in New York, and thank you Wait for the space. We'll for sure keep the conversation. And yeah, have a good day. Or
Bye,
night,
everyone.
or anytime.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Edwin.
Thank you. In a good day.
Good night.
Bye, you guys.